LibreCAD is a nice piece of software, but it gets kind of tricky when you try to import different image files into it. With raster files, you'll have to trace over them to vectorize them. And when it comes to vector files, it can only really handle its native DXF vector file. So today I'm going to be showing you how to use Scan-to-CAD to convert either raster or vector images into a DXF file format that you can open up on LibreCAD. Let's open up a sample floor plan raster file here. In this case, we want to first clean this up, convert it into a vector file, and then save it as a DXF file. So let's clean up the image by clicking on Clean Image here on the upper left. Now, normally you would want to click on Threshold to turn the image black and white. In this case, the option isn't available because the original image is already black and white. You'll see that if the image is already black and white, it's going to be grayed out like this one, and it won't be possible to click on it. But if it is possible, always go for the option of clicking on Threshold. Now, we have a couple of clean image options here. Remove speckles and holes to remove any visible graphic noise or holes that we can find in the image. In this case, it's a pretty clean image, so there's no need for us to use that. Thicken lines just makes thinner lines more visible. And for smooth, it kind of tries to smooth out these jagged edges like this one. So let's see what happens if we click on Smooth Image. See, it does kind of make it just a little bit more neat. Now we can click on OK to execute the changes into the raster file. I have a couple of other editing options here. The main things you might want to consider are the erase tool for any speckles or holes or anything that you might want to erase in the image that you don't want to include in the vectorization. And we also have some other drawing tools such as draw line, draw arc, and draw bezier. You can even draw rectangles and circles and other polygons here. If you want, you can also add text here if that's something that you might want to do before vectorizing the image. Okay, so say that we're okay with the edit here and we've cleaned up the image as much as we can. We just have to click on Convert Raster Image here on the upper left, right next to the Clean Image button. In this case, I think we might want to stick to the technical vectorization method. And since we do have some text objects in the original raster image, I'm going to click on Vectorize and OCR. The OCR function just converts those text images into editable text. As for vectorization presets, let's stick with the default architectural. There are a couple of presets that you can also choose, but usually when you're working with LibreCAD, it's either architectural or electrical or mechanical files. You can try to explore the other ones if that's more appropriate for your own image. So technical, vectorize, and OCR. When you click on Vectorize and OCR, a new OCR tab is going to pop up here. So click on that to set some of the settings right. For the character size, let's set the maximum character size by clicking on Select from Image. Looking for the largest text here. I think it might be these room labels. So let's zoom into any one of those. And then click and drag across its height to set the maximum character size automatically. Now, if you have any vertical or horizontal text, you would also want to click on these two. In this case, there aren't any vertical and angular text. So I'm going to leave those unticked. If you tick those without needing them, then it might turn out some false positives in the final image. So don't tick them if you don't need to tick them. Okay, now with all of the OCR settings done, let's go back to general and just double check all the settings that we have. This seems okay, so I'm going to click on Run here. This is the part of the process that might take a while depending on how complex the image is. In this case, it wasn't a very complex image, so it converted it very quickly. This is the converted vector. This is the original raster. So if you want to see both of them in the same page, just click on both to see the vector on top of the raster. And to make the vector more visible, you click on Highlight Vectors. It followed a lot of the lines pretty cleanly, pretty well. I think I'm happy with that. So if you're happy with this, you click on OK to execute the changes, and now we have a vector file that you can save. There are some text objects that might not have converted well, so if you want to check to correct those, just go to the Both tab once again. Click on Highlight Vectors here. You can erase these vector polylines by clicking on Erase here, and then just typing this up. So if I recall, the biggest text here was like around 48, so this might be a bit smaller than 48, maybe 30, but you can always change the size later. Click on down, type in down rather. See, those are actually pretty big too, so let's make that a little bit smaller. See if 20 is okay. That seems better. And then you can just move this by clicking on the corner on the upper left. Alternatively, you can actually just click on step and just add down here as well. I just wanted to show you that you can actually add additional text. So going back to the vector tab, if you're happy with what you see here, if you don't need to do any more edits using the edit tools on the left, or if you have any major edits, which wouldn't be super conducive if you use it on Scan-to-CAD, you might want to do that on your preferred CAD software, in this case, LibreCAD. So if you're happy with this, just click on Export here on the upper right. You can use either one of these DXF files, pre-release or R14 and R14 and later. By default, it's the latest DXF version, so R14 and later. And then you can just name it whatever you want to name it. And click on Save. Now, an additional note. Oh, also, it depends on what settings you have on your LibreCAD. But by default, I think that the background of LibreCAD is going to be a dark color. So you're going to want to have this ticked, because by default, these vector lines are going to be black. So they're going to be hard to see against a dark LibreCAD background. So you're gonna want to click this to make these black vectors white and more visible in front of a dark colored LibreCAD background. I can just click on OK to execute the changes. One last thing before I leave you guys. So I've shown you the process of how to convert a raster image into a vector file, a vector DXF file for LibreCAD. But what if you have a vector file that you want to convert? It's actually an easier process. When you open up the vector file, it's going to open up automatically into a vector tab. No need to clean up the image and do the whole process with cleaning up the raster, original raster lines here. It's just going to open it directly on vector. So all you really need to do is double check everything, see if it's okay, no need for edits, and then click on export on the upper right and save it as a DXF, and you should be good. So that's basically how to use Scan-to-CAD to convert either a raster file or a vector file into a DXF file that you can use on LibreCAD.